instant coffee, single origin, decaf, latte, espresso, Americano, coffee. Second only to water, it's the most loved drink in the world, hands down. In the US alone, people are sipping on over 450 million cups of coffee every day. But believe it or not, the title of Ultimate Coffee Nation doesn't belong to the US. Nope, that honor goes to Finland, where the average person drinks about 12 kilograms of coffee beans each year. Yep, per person. According to the International Coffee Organization, coffee is such a big deal that it's even included in military rations. But how did this magical bean juice become such a global obsession? And where did it all start? Welcome to our channel, and today we're breaking down the story of how coffee took over the world. So, the history of coffee? Kinda murky. There are two main origin stories though. One's from Ethiopia, and the other's from Yemen. Let's kick things off with Africa. Legend has it that in 850 AD, over in the region of Kaffa, Ethiopia, there was a young goat herd named Kaldi. One day Kaldi noticed that his goats were acting kinda wild after munching on some small red berries. Curious, and maybe a little FOMO, Kaldi tried the berries himself and was like, "Whoa, I feel amazing." Energized and excited, he brought the berries to a nearby monastery. But the head monk was not impressed. He straight up tossed the berries into a fire. The plot twist? As the beans roasted, the aroma was incredible. The monks couldn't resist and ended up brewing the world's first cup of coffee. Boom. Coffee was born. Now let's hop over to Yemen. This version of the story centers around a guy named Sheikh Omar, who is known for his healing abilities. Omar was banished from his town for some unknown reason and ended up living in a cave in the desert. Starving and desperate, he found some red berries growing nearby. He tried eating them raw, but yikes, they were bitter. Not ready to give up, Omar roasted the beans, ground them up, and mixed them with water. What he ended up with was an energizing drink that kept him going for days. When his people heard about it, they invited him back, probably like, "Dude, we need that coffee magic." Both of these stories are cool, but can we know for sure that this is how coffee came to be? Nah, we'll never really know. But what we do know is that Ethiopia is where the coffee plant comes from, and the first actual proof of roasting and brewing coffee is from Yemen. Fast forward to the 15th century. Coffee started making waves among Muslim communities in Yemen, especially with the Sufis, who needed a little pick-me-up to stay awake for long religious ceremonies. The coffee beans came from Ethiopia, but soon the love for coffee spread far and wide. By the 1600s, Europe was catching on to the trend. The Dutch were the first to start planting coffee in Sri Lanka, and by 1711, they were importing it from Java and Ceylon. Soon after, France, Portugal, and Spain brought coffee to the Caribbean, Brazil, and Central and South America. Fun fact, coffee from these places is now considered some of the best in the world. But wait, aren't all coffee beans the same? Nope. Quick explainer time. There are four main types of coffee beans: Arabica, Robusta, Liberica, and Excelsa. These beans grow in what's called the coffee belt, an area around the equator where the climate is perfect for coffee. Arabica is the most common bean. It makes up 60% of the world's coffee. It's sweet, fruity, and has a slight acidic kick, and it's mainly grown in Latin America. It also takes forever to grow, like 7 years, which is why it's more expensive. Robusta beans, on the other hand, are super high in caffeine and have a more bitter taste. They're grown in Africa and Indonesia and are the go-to for espressos and instant coffee. The rarer beans, Liberica and Excelsa, are grown in Southeast Asia, but they only make up a tiny part of the global coffee scene. Right now, Brazil is the king of coffee production, pumping out 45 million bags a year, mostly Arabica beans. No biggie, right? Coffee wasn't always popular. In Europe, it was once called the devil's drink because of its Islamic origins. That changed when Pope Clement VIII tried it, loved it, and even baptized the beans to make them Satan-free. In the 15th century, coffee houses started in the Arabian Peninsula and spread to Europe. They became intellectual hubs, especially in Britain, where penny universities let people chat with scholars over coffee. Interestingly, women were banned from coffee houses in Britain and France, but Germany welcomed both men and women. Coffee wasn't just a social thing. People back then believed it could cure pretty much everything. There was even an ad from 1652 that said coffee could treat headaches, lung issues, gout, and even prevent miscarriages. Americano coffee was born in World War II. American soldiers in Italy found Italian espresso too strong, so they added water to it. Italians called this watered-down version Americano, and the name stuck. So, how do you take your coffee? Thanks for watching. If you loved this, hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss our new video. See you next week, and until then, keep exploring.